fraud, okay? So the point of legal documentation and the point of an identifier, whether it be legally or otherwise, is to state a fact about what you are. So
yeah, but that wasn't my
Sorry,
question.
do you want me to answer or are you going to interrupt when I'm answering? Because you asked a question.
Yeah, but that wasn't my
question.
Yes,
you asked. You asked what the problem was.
I asked what benefit to society.
You said what was the problem? No, you said what was the problem with what you proposed. That was your question.
Okay, so I'm asking what benefit to society.
Okay, so you're gonna change the question now.
What collective benefit would that provide to society?
Your stance or ours?
I'm sorry, what?
Which stance are you referring to? What are you claiming or what are you asking would be a benefit? Our stance or what you're proposing?
I don't know if this individual heard the entire conversation or...
Right, so what you've done... Meltdown, bless you. Teacher, thank you. Thank you so much. Are you saying what the benefits are for changing gender markers or the benefits of not changing?
Right, because the question changed.
Yeah, let me clarify it. No problem. So what I'm saying is, what is the benefit, the collective benefit to society of having our physical gender markers be opposite of like our gender identity and how we are accepted and addressed in society?
Well, you're just presupposing that you are addressed that way in society. One, two, the problem yet again, the reason that it benefits it to have the accurate sex is because that allows for modes of social organization to be done accurately. So, for example, if we're taking statistics for males and females, often what we would look at to determine whether or not a person is male or female when collecting data legally would be your legal identification. If we looked at your legal identification and it stated something inaccurate, it would be skewing or misinforming statistical data. Can you stop interrupting when I'm answering your
We're operating on a false
Does he just keep interrupting everyone?
He didn't hear the entire conversation. I already said that when the court system, when the educational
Thank you,
system,
bless you.
when the medical systems, when they run the driver's license number, they will have record. They will have record that this individual is a biological male, and for reporting.
Okay, great, and it should
classified that way. But however, for the physical document gender marker would remain female for the.
No, the physical document should remain male as well because you're male.
That's my point. Like, what is the benefit to society for that? Because you can't claim a legal benefit when I'm saying that there would be record of it once they run the ID. So what is the benefit to society for that?
No, if you run the ID and the ID number and the documentation on the ID was changed, the data would reflect the new gender marker, not the same one. If we were operating on what previously.
I don't think it's tracking with you.
Envyy, can he stop interrupting? I'm getting a little bit annoyed because I'm not interrupting him, but he keeps interrupting.
He's just not tracking.
Right.
I am.
Ask the question, we let the person respond. Once Nate finishes responding, then you respond back. We'll do it one at a time. We'll keep it inclusive. Trans people. Go ahead. Go on, Nate.
Okay, right. So, yet again, all I'm stating is that the point of the legal documentation, yet again, the benefit is that it's supposed to represent something truthful. So that would be the benefit, okay? The point of a legal identifier is to represent something accurate. That's what it means to identify something. So the benefit of having your legal documentation accurately represent your sex is that in cases for modes of social organization or in cases where your sex is a qualifier to enter or be permitted into a particular space, that the physical document you carry is accurately representing your sex. That's it. That's the benefit.
But if they get the surgery, then it does. Duh, hello.
What did you even just say?
That was a slur, if I've ever heard. The biggest slur. What?
I don't know what he said. I genuinely don't know.
I said that's why we get the surgery. Hello. Well, you said that's why we get the surgery.
Sorry. Okay. So the surgery doesn't accomplish anything.
God, slur my words.
Surgery.
This is
forbidden. Stop now, please. It's
no. I want to finish, please. Can I finish?
No, we heard what you said. You just clarified, so we're not going to respond. Chrissy, did you want to respond to that?
Go ahead, Nate. You take it.
Oh, okay. So, the surgery doesn't make you feel.
This is why I asked if she was sober.
The surgery. That no, he's not.
I am literally always sober.
You couldn't even say sober. You said sober. Something's wrong with you. Stop talking for a second. So, the surgery doesn't make.
I don't like being put on the spot. It makes me nervous.
This is too good.
The surgery doesn't make you female, so that wouldn't respond to anything I'm saying. So the legal documentation represents your sex, and you're male. So if you're male,
if we literally get the surgery, we literally have that taken care of. So literally,
the surgery doesn't make you female.
Have the gender marker change. Literally, then.
Are you listening to anything we're saying? Or is your hearing?
I'm literally listening to what you're saying. I'm literally listening to what you're saying in that terrible accent that you're doing. But you need to understand what I'm saying. I am telling you that the surgery fixes
the surgery
that.
doesn't fix anything. The surgery just it destroys your male genitalia, or just like inverts it. Inverting your male genitalia doesn't mean that it's now female genitalia. So you're still male.
You know what? Like, literally, I feel like it would be inappropriate to put anything other than the snacks that they have. They're transitioning to, because it would be extremely dangerous. Hello.
They're not transitioning to any. Oh. They're not transitioning to any sex. Is that you should say hello to your primary care doctor and not to us. You're saying hello a lot. I think you need to say hi to somebody else, like maybe like a health professional or something.
Literally, like, no, you're not.
Okay, so then this is why you guys give the tea community a bad rep, girl. Like,
you're no better. You're no better. You just do it when you're not drunk. To be honest,
I don't come on TikTok when I'm drunk.
That's the point. I'm saying that you.
First off, I am not inebriated, and the fact that y'all keep trying to.
Can you stop interrupting, please? So all I was saying is that the difference with Jesus Christ. Can you eat a cookie for a second? Just stop talking, occupy your time, eat a cookie, and stop interrupting, please. It's getting a little bit annoying. Take a moment. I know cookies make you quiet. Just sit and munch for a second, please. God damn it.
I really don't like cookies.
So, okay, cake. Be like Cassie. No, anyways,
This is a good life.
Good life. Sorry. So.
Can't even compose yourself. What a shame.
The difference
between... Can you let him get out like 30 seconds, please?
The difference...
Oh, girl, I know you're not talking when you were literally talking.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Christy, would you like to go? Because I don't want to lose my patience and I don't want to take over the library again.
Oh, I'm about to go into labor, but you can continue.
Wait, you are?
No, you're making me laugh, so stop it.
Sorry, okay.
And can we get that clip where I need that clip?
Okay. So, as I was saying, the only difference between you and Forbidden is that Forbidden is just doing it inebriated. You're saying the exact same thing. So you're giving the community.
I am literally not inebriated. Oh my God.
We have very different positions.
Well, both of you are saying that your legal documentation should say female. That's as far as I'm thinking.
I'm not saying that we should.
I am literally not inebriated. And the fact that you keep saying that is just demeaning on my character.
You're not inebriated and you're not shutting up either. Can you just stop talking, please?
Yeah, Nate, I'm as female. I'm just saying, I'm just saying that the gender marker should be female, but however, when
the exact same thing, gender markers are on legal documentation.
Yeah, that's what I'm advocating for, is like there would be a record when the police run it, when the court system runs it, when the medical professionals run it. When anybody runs that driver's license, there will be record, and there will be a requirement that statistically, it will have to be, those individuals have to be reported as biologically male for reporting.
Yes, so then why are you changing the document in the first place?
For our own safety, and so we can just kind of, because it's going to create a lot of issues if people are required to have the opposite, gender marker.
It's not opposite. It's the same.
Well, I know, but it's just like, for some of us, some of the trans people, it's just not. It's not congruent with, like, their reality. You know what I'm saying?
No. You're not congruent with reality because you're you're purporting a sex that you're not on your legal documentation. It's not the other way around.
So you keep saying legal. But
we're talking about legal documentation. The documentation is legal, you know. All forms of ID, whether it be a driver's license, a passport, or any other form of legal
I'm saying there's going to have to be changes. There's going to have to be changes, right? And so I just think this could be a common ground.
It's not a common ground. All legal documentation,
we would be giving up a lot.
Oh my God! Are you gonna stop interrupting me?
No, I'm saying we would be giving up a lot, and you guys would be giving a lot.
You're not giving up anything. All your legal documentation, whether it be on record, digitally, or physically, should represent your actual sex.
No, I'm saying, but on record, when it's ran, it'll be.
And it's going to be.
Okay, the physical documentation should also stay the same.
No, when I'm going in.
We're literally not fun. It's the government literally lets us do it.
Can you shut up, you oversized watermelon? Stop interrupting, please. Stop.
Can you please have some class, please?
Yeah, have some class and shut up. You're annoying me now.
Everybody's in the middle of having a conversation.
Yeah, we are.
Interrupting.
Trying to have a good face.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Can forbidden be forbidden from the life, please? So annoying.
Just be quiet.
Stop.
Just relax.
Sorry, I'm not trying to do. Just stop.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought, Nate. Go ahead.
I lost mine too. By the way, Chrissy, if you ever want to jump in, I don't want to keep talking.
Yeah, can I just say as well, not in every circumstance, your legal ID is going to be scanned in some type of, I don't know, machine that's going to lead back to tell the truth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Healthcare service providers don't do that. And as Nate stated, when they collect data in terms of surveys and things like that, they're not going to run your ID through some kind of machine that is going to lead back to the truth, right?
Well, you know.
So are you proposing that we implement a whole new system to accommodate?
It wouldn't be a whole new system. This is something that transgender people make up 1% of the population. It's something that the healthcare administration could very easily, implement this.
I don't think it would be.
Sorry, all I was saying is that all you're really proposing here is that your physical documents be fraudulent, but then the record be accurate. What's the point?
I really think it would be more important for the police and for reporting crimes. You know what I'm saying? And the education with the scholarship stuff.
No, it just matters for social organization in general. Okay, when it comes to
all of those things.
Social organization. No, not only in legal situations. There are also just modes of social organization that you may be required. Yes. So, for example, if you're going to, maybe a domestic violence shelter, for example, right, or you're going to a women's sobriety, is it called a sobriety? I believe it's called, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to run. Sorry, can you stop? You're not going to run your documents through some sort of system. You're going to show them an ID, right, that would represent your actual sex, not the one that you're not. Okay, so there's not going to be any system to check. Therefore, there's no point in stating that the record should be accurate, but the physical document should be fraudulent.
Yeah, I think for DV shelters, it should be based on what you anatomically have. So if you're pre-op, you can't, but if you're post-op, you can.
You're still anatomically male after the post-op. After the post-op is redundant. Post-op, you're still anatomically male.
No, I think the sex organs are there. That gets sex change,
No, it doesn't. The surgery just inverts the male genitalia. Inverted male genitalia is not female genitalia.
Okay. So what else other than shelters? Because we basically agree.
Wait, no. Can I redress that point, though? Because you seem to think that the anatomy changes, and that's the problem with a lot of people. You guys seem to think that the surgery does anything. All you're doing is, forgive me, mutilating your genitalia. You're not doing anything else.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's visually.
It's changing your anatomy.
It's visually mimicking, the anatomy of a female. So.
Okay, visual mimicry is not the same as the thing being itself. Fool's gold visually mimics gold. It doesn't mean that we can classify it as gold.
We don't have a uterus, right?
You don't have any female anatomy at all.
But the sex organs are reconstructed to mimc that.
It's the same sex organ. It's just displaced and invoicing.
Can y'all stop making lies? I am not inebriated. Y'all stop. Y'all are disgusting.
Can you stop talking? Nobody is talking to you. Nobody's talking to you. Go to Krispy Kreme. Go to McDonald's. Go do something fun with your life. Jump on a treadmill. I don't care. Stop
well, why don't you go get a better Edna impression? Why don't you get a better Edna impression?
I will just say this. I really think we need to get away from the fat shaming. I just don't think that's...
Yeah, that's just...
I don't care. I don't really care.
Think that's
the host. Unless the host wants me to stop, then maybe I'll
yeah,
but I'm getting very angry.
If we can move from that.
Yeah, stop it, Edna the Fruit Loop.
Oh, shut up.
What else? What other social, whatever you said, other than DV shelters, are you concerned about?
Restrooms is a
Oh yeah, I already said that. I feel like I'm on the same page with you guys on that.
The restrooms, so you shouldn't be in restrooms at all, post or pre-op.
What?
Do you think that they should be in the restrooms post-op?
I don't know.
Yeah, hello.
Can you? Oh, jeez. Okay. Continue. Stop. Yeah, on that one, I'm on the fence. I don't know. I feel kind of weird about. I feel weird about female attracted trans women going in, if they're post-op, pre-op, whatever, going into the women's restroom. You know, and that's coming from someone that has been hasn't used the female restroom. So.
There's also women's sobrieties. So if we had a sobriety group for women, for example, and they just want to check your ID, that would also be a mode of social organization.
Oh no, that would be caught up under the education thing that I was saying.
Sobriety is not education.
Oh, I thought you said sorority. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Am I getting the words mixed up? If I am, forgive me.
I thought you said sorority.
Is it sobriety or sorority? Maybe I'm getting the words confused.
Like you're talking about a college club for girls, right?
Sororities are for girls and fraternities are for boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be under like the umbrella that I was talking about. Like the higher education systems would have they would have that record and they wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, great. So then if that be the case, then that's another part of social organization that would require that. And any other sex-segregated space in society, it doesn't have to be legally implemented. It can just be a simple social space. If there was a women's-only spa and they ask for your ID, that's a form of, it's a publicly accessed area, but it's for women only. It would require that you perhaps show your ID, and we don't want your ID saying female if you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we get the surgery, then that's it. Hello.
No, but we just went over this. The surgery.
Hello.
We just went over this. The surgery does not accomplish you guys being female. I think this has been clarified now for the 5th time.
Hello.
Hey,
bye.
I wanted to ask you. What are your credentials?
My credentials?
Yeah, what are your credentials? I want to know.
I have a degree in common sense. What about you?
Oh. Wait, that's not what I asked. I asked, what are your credentials?
Yes, I have a...
Yeah, right. Blue, can I get your age, please?
Blue, you're muted.
I like how that question didn't get answered.
I like that I don't care. I'm sorry.
I did so.
Right, Blue, can I get your age, please?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Can I please get your age?
My age?
Yes.
I'm 26.
26. Right, would you like to chime into the conversation? Or
yeah, I was just letting them finish.
Yeah,
they seemed like they was, she was asking a question.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Babe. Do you believe that trans women are women?
I believe that trans women are basically who they want to be and who they want to identify themselves as.
So you do believe that they are women then? That's what they're identifying as?
Biologically, no.
Unless there's an unbiological woman, which I'm not too familiar with, if you would like to elaborate for me.
Genetically.
Well, genetically, is there ungenetically woman? I don't. So could you tell me what the woman is?
No, I believe that trans women are women. It's just, other panels that I've been on, it's been more of like a genetic question. And like, I identify as who I am, but I was genetically not born a woman. So,
But then what would make a woman though?
Well, guess what? You're on that panel.
I do have to drop and make lunch. I'll be around later, guys.
Okay, bye.
Oh, no, Chloe, don't go. Whatever will we do without you?
We're going to have a drink.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Envy.
Right, so could you explain to me what a woman is then? Because you're saying that genetically, biologically, so I would like the definition of woman that includes all women.
The absolute citizen. So I'm reading the comments. So basically, I believe that a woman is a woman, and I believe a trans woman is a woman. I don't believe a trans man is a woman. So I don't know.
But what is that? You said a woman is a woman and a trans woman is a woman, but what is woman?
Woman is basically, feminist, prosperity, and, that goes beyond genetic forms, So I don't really want to sit here and, make it seem like I'm going against it. I definitely believe, we're in a democracy, an age where we can definitely identify who we allow ourselves to a limit. I just can't genetically say that I am born a woman. So,
By your definition, I would just argue the point that you are robbing women of their rights by categorizing yourself as a woman without a clear-cut definition. Because how do we protect women's rights if it cannot be protected? But what is a woman at that point? When we speak of women's health and we speak of women's rights and we speak of women's sports and things of that nature, what are we actually referring to?
That is a good question. And I guess, I'm also here to learn. So I'm in the community where, I'm in Arkansas. So Arkansas doesn't really teach this stuff. I was born and raised in LA. Where it's more advocated, the democracy is more there, it's very more exploited. It's very much hidden here and forbidden. So, I'm really much more here to learn. So,
Would you have an issue if I told you that a woman is an adult human female and that no male can identify into our category?
Say that one more time. You said an adult female?
Yes. So would you have an issue or a rebuttal or something if I was to say to you that a woman is an adult human and identify into our category?
You saying, do I disagree with that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say yes, but I'm also not going to say no because I wasn't genetically born a woman, so I can't really argue with that.
Yeah, so then why would you take on the identity of something you cannot be? I mean, what I'm starting to see, not starting to see, but what I am seeing is that trans-identified men who want to be women, it's like a state of denial, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with you being who you are or what you are, right? If you want to be a man and you want to, do the surgery, I mean, respectfully.
It's like a boost of motivation in a way, right? Like a motivational admiration, it's something that we, and it's coming from ambition, it's coming from aspiration, and these are the things that fall in line the same way that, I and you do our makeup and put on lipstick.
Yeah, but that doesn't make me a woman because I can take.
It doesn't. It's who you're wanting to be.
No, I don't put on my makeup because I want to be a woman.
No, you want to be. You want to feel a certain way, and you want to be a certain character in your day, or you wouldn't be wearing makeup at all.
Yeah, no, I do it to enhance my look, should I say, right? Yeah, he's drinking. So, for example, I'll put on the red lipstick. It makes my lips stand out more. The eyeliner makes my eyes stand out more. But it's in no way, shape, or form anything.
A harsh black underline eye and your waterline? Bold choice.
Can you be quiet, sir? I mean, respectfully, they're in the middle of a conversation. You've interrupted every single conversation on the panel since you got up here. Hush.
Yeah, so I don't do that as a form of like affirmation or to like play some sort of character or anything like that. It's just an enhancement of my already big features. So that's kind of what I do to make myself, I feel more presentable or something like that. I wouldn't say it's some type of like affirmation or to play some sort of character. So what do you do when you put your makeup on? Does that make you feel like a woman?
Oh no, it makes me look presentable. I get a good job, wearing my makeup. I look, acquainted when I go out, and I have great social, advocates coming up to me. I just, I'm a great character to socialize and to be around, and very presentable to the outside world. Just like.
Would you agree with me that wearing makeup doesn't define what a woman is? It's something that may be associated with women.
No, I believe it enhances and it gives a good, like I said, what I stated earlier, and, I feel like that can go with also, character. And, I don't really label myself, but, the world wants to put me in a category, right? We all got to, everything has to have a label, right? So,
I would argue that labels are important. Very quickly, Bone, can I get your age?
Yeah, 30.
30. And do you believe that trans women are women?
I think that we should respect people based off of what they've asked us to call them.
There's so many things I want to say right now. I've got to behave.
W for Bone. W for Bone. W for Bone. Everybody W for Bone in the chat.
Why don't you have a shot of tequila for Bone?
Blue is 6'5".
I am not inebriated. Why are you putting an opinion on me?
Shut up.
I'm just high-spirited.
Whatever. Yeah, very spirited. What spirit? Spirit drinker. Sorry. Nate, I saw you on mute. Go ahead, babe.
My connection is not good.
I'm just going to mute you for a second. Thank you, Blue. Right. So, Bone, you said that we should respect people, what they want to be called.
It doesn't really cost me anything extra.
It actually does. I would argue that it costs us our rights as women.
Oh, what rights have we had taken away?
Rights to segregated spaces in society. Women are afforded the right to privacy, dignity, and safety away from the male sex in certain spaces. And by altering language and changing language, we have created some type of loophole. I don't know if it's called a loophole, or we've created some acceptance to a certain type of males to access women-only spaces. Well, I don't think that's fair.
Okay. Is there any particular space that you personally have lost?
Yeah, I would say anything that's women-only. So women-only prisons, women-only TV shelters, women-only restrooms.
Well, for you personally.
Yes.
Which one of those is applicable to you?
Do you have a woman's bathroom at your house that you don't leave?
Right. I am so sorry. So, what was I saying? So in the UK, we've got kind of like a grey area at the moment via the Equalities Act. So within the Equalities Act, it states, it speaks of sex and sex-segregated spaces, right? But within the Equalities Act, it hasn't been made clear, because it didn't need to be clear, whether it's biological sex or your legal sex. Mm-hmm. So what's happened now is, because we are having men identify as women and they are changing their legal sex in terms of their ID and things like that, it's kind of created this grey area. So we're currently at the moment kind of going back and forth with the government to clarify. So at the moment, the UK Supreme Court is under deliberation for the word woman. And if the word woman then includes the male sex, we are no longer able to congregate on or offline without the presence of males in any circumstance.
Well, explain to me what you mean by you aren't able then to congregate on or offline, because that's a very strong statement.
Yes, of course. So, for example, if there are lesbian dating events, males would be able to participate within that. So I don't want to say the word because I don't want the life to get banned, but phobia with the H, because lesbians have the right to meet other lesbians.
Oh, certainly. I don't think that we should be forcing anybody to date or interact with anybody that they're not comfortable with on a sexual level. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yes,
I think the
lesbian bars in London have all shut down. There isn't one lesbian bar in London anymore because not to interrupt, I apologize. The United States actually has a similar problem. We've lost a lot of lesbian bars as well. Right.
Over time.
So this is the issue with kind of calling people, or so you say, respecting people and what they want to be called. We've allowed for the eradication of female-only spaces, right? And
wait, I have a question. I'm sorry. The bars going to get shut down in my area. Do you happen to think maybe it's just y'all? Yes. Maybe bringing the morale down.
Get an Uber and go to Fuckadyville and further. Yeah?
Wait, what?
I said, get in an Uber and go to Fuckadyville.
I have my own car, though.
And have a drink in Fuckadyville.
I have my own car, though.
Then drive to Fuckadyville.
I know you're probably not used to people having their own cars.
I don't drive there. Take an Uber, because if you're going to drink, you don't drink and drive. And
I don't drink at all.
Being polite here. Stop it.
Yeah, I know. You're such a charming angel.
Is he done?
I don't know.
I just want to hear Envyy and Bone go back together. I'm listening.
Sorry, Bone. If he interrupts one more time, so one of the mods just drops him.
Please.
Okay. Where were
we? Just wait.
No worries. We were talking about the lesbian bars, and yes. I think, and I have to admit, I'm from the United States, so I'm not certain as to the reason that lesbian bars in the UK have closed. Lesbian bars in the United States have closed a lot in part just to people kind of branching out into different spaces to congregate.
Right. So the reason why it's happened in the UK, we actually had like a documentary on this, and it was actually on the news. So what was happening was that young lesbians, like 18, 19, that were going to the lesbian bars. And what was happening, males were showing up and saying that they identify as women. And they were emotionally blackmailing these young girls into sexual intercourse. And a lot of these lesbians were coerced and forced into sexual intercourse with men, and which is great. And they stopped going. These lesbians stopped going out because there was a lot of men attending these bars. And the bar started to lose, obviously, revenue and money. And now they've stopped. Now they've shut down.
That makes perfect sense. If you wouldn't mind like DMing me or something, I'd love to see that documentary, because that is something that I'm not familiar with, and I appreciate you sharing that.
No, that's completely fine. Blue, you're muted. Would you like to say something?
He's silent beefing with the comment section.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah, that's what don't bring me. I was listening to y'all. I was just loving the comments. Sorry.
Okay, all right then. Right.
I'm sorry. I'm just a positive blueberry. What can I say?
No, you keep being that positive. Very quickly forbidden. I just want to ask a bonus question. Yeah. Do you understand, right? Because when we say, like, for me to turn around and say, I don't think she should be at that lesbian bar. I don't think she should be able to partake in women's sports. What do you think I'm speaking of?
No, I understand what you're getting at, and that's a logical supposition. So I think there's a lot of things to discuss here when we talk about people who are transgender, right? And I don't mean to talk with my foot in my mouth. I don't identify as transgender. I'm a cisgender woman. I identify with the sex that I was born with. But I think...
Can we take a quick... When did you identify, and why do you identify with your...
why do I identify? That's actually something that I've given thought to as I've gotten older in particular. I think I'm significantly older than most people on this board. I'm a mom. Yeah, I'm a mom to a little girl.
Bone, how old are you?
I'm in my 30s.
Okay, I'm 42 and I've never identified as a woman in my entire life.
Oh.
Yeah, since I've hit 18, I've never said like, oh my God, I'm a woman. I just objectively am because it's just like a state of maturity. Like I would never call myself a, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, perhaps that's just a difference, between people. Maybe some people give it thought and some people, they seem to not. I don't think that that's, right or wrong.
I just don't think it's an identity that we can claim. I just think it's an objective state of just getting to maturity as a female.
So what is that? What does that objective state? So when we use terms like objective, that's a data-driven state, right? Objective means it stands for itself. So what about you stands for itself as a woman?
My biology, me hitting maturity and being a female, that's it.
But there are instances, so your biology, right? So what about your biology? Let's go into that.
Let's do it.
So what made you a woman biologically?
I'm organized around the production of large gametes. Have the capability of producing offspring.
Oh, beautiful. I love that word, large.
Me too. I love it too, because you're going to say, what if you can't produce offspring, right?
Well, not only that, there's more to it than that. But certainly there are women who can.
Sure.
So does that disorganize them from being a woman?
No, because their entire reproductive anatomy, their entire body is organized around that. So whether they can or not, or they choose not to, or decide to abort their children, it doesn't matter.
But but if they don't have the same types of reproductive anatomy as you.
But if a woman is unable to give birth for whatever reason, say maybe she has PCOS, maybe she's missing, or she has lower AMH and she's unable to conceive. Maybe
Are you a nurse?
has MRKH. I don't need to be a nurse to understand the female anatomy.
I'm sorry, I'm just asking.
Oh yeah, no, I don't need. Sorry if I came off rude. No, I'm not a nurse. No. If they have MRKH syndrome and their uterus is underdeveloped, they're still female. They're still women, right? Under my framework, you just have to be a female that reached maturity.
So. But then that would imply that girls would not be, right?
That's correct, because they're girls.
But they would have the potential to be women.
Right. They just have to reach a state of maturity. Then they'd be women.
Okay.
Yes.
So reaching a state of maturity. So what about young girls who are not able to go through puberty?
If they're society deemed the legal age of maturity, not maturity, adulthood would be 18. So they would just have to reach the age of 18, which I guess society would deem them adults, right?
Okay. So
even if those females don't go through puberty, they're still now adult females.
Without the capabilities of the things you've described, because they haven't gone through puberty.
But they're still they don't have to go through puberty. They're still females that reach maturity.
So maturity for you then is not a physical manifestation, but one that comes from the brain, perhaps?
No. Maturity is what society deems. So if they're going to talk about what's an adult, right? Society deems adults in the United States at least 18 years old, right? So if these girls couldn't, if they didn't get their periods or they didn't, whatever the case is, society still deems them adults because they hit the age of maturity.
So your definition of being a woman is a legal definition.
Well, I mean, that's what society deems to be an adult. So adult, whatever the society deems to be an adult. I'm going to use the United States, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So legal
my question is for you, what are you using to define women?
Well, I think when I was younger, I used the same criteria, to be perfectly honest.
So what do you do it now that you're older?
I think now that I'm older, I still go by the things that I have learned in the past, which is I assume based off of what I see, but I tend to change my language or the way that I refer to somebody based on what they've asked me to.
So your perception of what women are or what people tell you that women are?
No, it has nothing to do with what people tell me. I can acknowledge.
Go ahead.
So you said that you are a little bit older than I am, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both aware of the concept of intersectionality in terms of feminism, that different types of women have different types of struggles, come from different types of backgrounds, right?
Correct. But I don't include males in there. I'm
Okay.
sure you include males in intersectionality when we talk about feminism, correct?
I would include transgender women
Right,
in it,
so
yes.
male.
I would
Yeah.
also then acknowledge that due to the differences, that they would have been born biologically male at first. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that.
Sorry, just before you move on to intersectionality, I just want to clarify something that Bones said in case the conversation goes back there, Christy. The age of 18 that we use in the majority of the world or the Western world for adulthood, it's not a societal definition. It is based on biology. It's the average age in which our last bone, our clavicles have fused, and that means that we are fully sexually developed and our skeletal system, our skeletal structure is also fully developed around that age. So it is still based upon biology. I just wanted to clarify that.
Lovely.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, Valentine. Sorry, go ahead, Bones.
Oh no, I'm just waiting for any follow-up.
No, I think,
Just repeat what you just said.
yeah.
I'm so sorry, I got sidetracked by Ms. Molotov, so I'm not actually sure.
You were going into intersectional feminism and that you would include trans
Okay.
in there.
So, I mean, with the concept of intersectionality, we don't insinuate that all women are the same. My experience as an Arab woman in the United States is going to be different than your experience as a woman of whatever your background is from the UK. So the experience then of somebody who says that they are a trans woman is going to be different than my experience because they did not end up having the same type of childhood. Logistically, they would have been raised as a boy. And there's nothing wrong with saying that they had a difference in biology, that they had a different experience. And now that this is something that they identify with,
But,
you know.
You know that obviously the purpose of categories, right?
Sure.
There has to be like a common denominator within that category.
Mm-hmm.
So the common denominator or the denominator within the category of woman is that we are all adult human females. So if we are going to include males now into that category, I would like you to tell me what would be the common denominator within the category of woman that includes both males and females but excludes every other male.
I think that the obvious would be self-identification. This is what I feel like.
Yeah, and I would rebuttal that point by saying that, as Christy stated, and me myself, and the vast majority of women, I do believe, including in Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, these countries, there is no identification. We are what our bodies are. That is what we are. What we are and who we are two different things, right? What I am is a woman, but who I am, some people would say this woman's a bitch, this woman's like friendly, kind, things like that. So we don't identify ourselves. So that wouldn't be a valid. Can we not have the child on the screen, please? Thank you. We don't. Yeah. So in terms of identifying ourselves, not all women identify themselves as women. We just are.
May I also?
All women can. Really quick. Also, not all women can opt out of being female, right? We can't tell the women in Afghanistan, well, just claim something else, right? Because their identity is irrelevant there. So I'm pretty sure that you don't hold this view in countries that oppress females, do you?
I'm an Arabic woman. You don't have to tell me about that. That's something.
Well, why would you hold this view? Why would you hold the view that men can be women if you're an Arab?
I don't. So there are a lot of things about Arab politics that I don't necessarily agree with. Sharia law, for example. Those things are not mutually exclusive.
But I'm asking you, as an Arab woman, and you know that there's a lot of Arab and Middle Eastern women that are oppressed, why would you hold the view that men can be women? Are you okay with males identifying as women in Arab countries?
That's not my business. If somebody wants to do that, that's not my concern.
That's not my question. Now you're being disingenuous. My question
I'm not being
to you
disingenuous.
Would you be okay? Now, you're okay with it in the Western world. Would you be okay with it in Arab countries where women are oppressed? Yes or no?
Why would I not be okay with it?
So you are okay with it?
What would be the problem of being consistent? That's
go ahead, Envyy.
Statement.
Right. So, right. It really does boggle my mind because self-identification isn't going to lift women out of their oppression.
Right. That doesn't make any sense. That's
right.
not. But that's not the conversation, right?
Yes, because what you are saying is that there is some form of self-identification, and if somebody says that they are something, they are to be legally and socially treated in that manner. Whereas the women in Afghanistan, they're not allowed to even speak loudly, right? At the age of 12, they can't, no more education. Are you saying if these 12-year-old girls just pop their hands up?
No, because that doesn't make any sense, right? You're putting words in my mouth.
No, but this is what we are saying. So you are not holding the same standards.
No, that's not what you asked. Hang on a second. Your specific question was, in an Arab country, is it possible for somebody to identify as the sex that they were not born into? My answer to that was yes. As to whether or not that helps with women's liberation, that's not the question. That's an entirely different topic.
That is something that you would accept. I don't accept an oppressive class identifying into the oppressed class.
Well, I can't, I think that's a different conversation.
I'm also part Arab, I'm Middle Eastern as well. And the things that I've had to endure as a Middle Eastern woman, to hear a man utter the words, I identify as what you are, to me is an insult. I wasn't able to look, when I used to go back home to my country and I used to sit on the balcony, I wasn't allowed to look left or right because I'm female, because I'm a woman. I had to cover up. You know these things. I couldn't say certain words. I couldn't do certain things. I couldn't imagine. I've got a beautiful view in front of me. I couldn't look left or right. Because if I did look and there was a man there and something happened, it would be then my fault, right? So to say that a man can now identify into the oppression that we've had to face is a slap in the face.
Well, no, because we have the understanding of intersectionality, right? That these are not the same experiences that people have had.
But again,
intersectionality.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, ma'am. Sorry.
I'm just stating that you keep throwing the word intersectionality around. Intersectionality doesn't mean that categories aren't definable. I don't know why you keep using that word.
I've not said that categories are not definable at all.
That's what you said, though. That's what you implied, because earlier when you were asked, when you were talking about what women were, you stated that there was intersectionality, therefore there are going to be different experiences. No one's denying that. We're just stating that you don't really have any coherency as a part of your position. In one instance, right, you're stating that you'd be fine in the Western world with a person identifying as a woman, even though they're male. But in the Arab countries, you don't seem to understand that the oppression that they face as women is based on them being female, not based on self-identity. That's the problem.
I do understand that.
Okay, so then why are you applying one thing to the Western world and not the Arabic world?
I'm not. I've said that if you want to identify as a transgender person in the Arab world, that is a morally consistent position. That's not inconsistent.
This isn't a moral conversation. I don't know where the word moral came from. But yet again, the problem is, I wanted to point this out earlier with her response earlier. You see,
Thank you.
When you were asked about the consistency, the commonality that groups all women categorically, your answer was just circular. It actually didn't answer. That's what I wanted to say when the original answer was given. The answer was circular. You can't say the thing that categorically groups women is that they identify as women.
Yeah,
that's just circular.
My bad, mate. Obviously, yeah. And so I hit that with the rebuttal that not all women self-identify as women.
So
but it just presupposes what a woman is, and we really haven't heard what that is, because in one instance you're saying that in Arab culture the women are female, right? But then persons who are male can still identify into that category.
So what would you categorize as a woman?
Well, just stated before, an adult human female. And to be female, you would need to be of or primarily denoting the sex that produces large gametes. That was the definition.
That works for a lot of women, but it doesn't work for a lot of other women, right?
Okay, which women does it not work for?
Women who don't produce gametes.
No, the word denoting is in the definition. Do you know what the word denoting means?
So explain to me then what would happen to that particular group of people.
I'm asking a question.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, what does denoting mean?
I don't really appreciate being condescended to. You can just keep going with your point.
I mean, you're being condescending to everyone, but okay.
How?
Denoting means, no, it's okay. Denoting means to indicate or be a sign of. So in the instances where females are unable to produce large gametes, right, they still indicate or they have a reproductive anatomy that indicates or denotes that capacity, okay? So they're included. So infertile women or women who don't produce large gametes are included.
Yes.
Okay, so no women are excluded. So I'm still waiting to hear what women are being excluded. I'll give an example really quickly. So there's a condition called 46XY pure gonadal dysgenesis. It's called Swire syndrome. So the women don't produce large gametes because they lack ovaries. However, their surrounding reproductive anatomy consists of fallopian tubes, a uterus, and a vagina. Those are characteristics that indicate the capacity to produce large gametes. Therefore, they're still female. So, thank you, B. Wheel. Sorry, I just saw. Thank you, Mo.
Let's do this. Thank you.
So, can I get an answer as to who we're excluding? So, trying to figure out who's being excluded.
I'm so sorry. You're like chopping in and out.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
Might just be me because I'm at my college.
Yeah, is it me? Is it me actually cutting out, or?
I think it's on both sides.
Okay, right. So as I was just stating, you haven't told us which females are being excluded.
I'm so sorry, because you cut out. I did not get the entirety of what you were saying, so I'm not sure if what I'm going to say is.
Okay, I'll say it again.
Thank you.
We said of or primarily denoting. You said that women who do not produce large gametes or that are infertile are not included. Okay, so I said that's not the case because the word denoting means to indicate or be a sign of. So, for example, if a woman with 46XY pure gonadal dysgenesis doesn't produce large gametes, her surrounding reproductive anatomy possesses characteristics that indicate or denote that capacity. For example, fallopian tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. Okay. So persons with those conditions or with intersex or disorders of sexual development or reproductive disorders still indicate that capacity. So no, I'm still trying to figure out who is excluded.
Okay. I think the only appropriate answer then would be very small groups potentially of people who develop male secondary sex characteristics post-puberty.
Yeah, well, could you name the condition where that's the case?
I don't remember offhand. Klinefelter is coming to mind, but I don't think that's correct.
Klinefelter only affects males.
Yeah.
I have Klinefelter. So it only affects males. It's not a female condition. So you're not existing females. So that wouldn't be a.
No, I know. I don't remember offhand. That's what I told you.
Because it doesn't exist. So there are no conditions where females develop male secondary sex characteristics as a result of a disorder of sexual development.
So PCOS, though, where you have excess androgen is one, isn't it?
Yes. No, polycystic ovarian syndrome is an intersex condition.
I didn't say it was an intersex condition. I said that you could develop male secondary sex characteristics.
Yeah, I asked you what are the names of the conditions, the disorders of sexual development, where that's the case. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is not a disorder of sexual development because disorders of sexual development are congenital. PCOS is not congenital.
Well, then I misunderstood the question. I thought we were talking about secondary sex characteristics that can come about later in life.
Okay, but polycystic ovarian syndrome affects females, and the reason they're female, they're not excluded because we don't define sex by secondary sex development. Secondary sex development occurs, as you stated, post-puberty. We don't define sex by secondary sex characteristics. Actually, just explain how we define sex. It's defined as an evolved reproductive strategy that indicates or produces a particular type of gamete, whether it's large or small. So
and that is biologically consistent, yes.
Okay, so no one is excluded then from adult human female, just to clarify.
Well, I think the women who don't produce gametes would potentially be excluded because there are complete agenesis of uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries. These are things that happen.
I just explained this. So vaginal agenesis or Müllerian agenesis, those women have ovaries. They just lack a uterus. It's called MRKA syndrome. They have ovaries. So women with MRKA syndrome have successfully mothered children. So and the denoting capacity was already clarified. So women with vaginal agenesis or Müllerian agenesis still indicate the reproductive anatomy that produces large gametes. So,
you're saying they still have ovaries and eggs present?
For MRKA syndrome, vaginal or Müllerian agenesis, yes, that particular condition, yes, you can look it up.
I have no reason to distrust you. I'm learning as much as I'm listening.
Right. So I'm still waiting to figure out who excludes. Because the main contention is that you're saying adult human female excludes females. I'm trying to figure out where these females are.
Well, by your definition, that is a pretty solid definition. I can't disagree with that. I think that that's logical.
Okay, great. So our definition is consistent, so we've proven that. Now, what is yours?
I have no problem with what you are saying. I think that what you are saying is perfectly logical, but I also think that it is disrespectful to call somebody what they like. It costs you nothing.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you what it costs you. Just very quickly, in the chat, Muppet, if you could comment, please. Guys, if you could hit Muppet with a follow, I'd really appreciate that. Please hit Muppet with a follow. Thank you so much. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Right, Phone, it's costing you your rights as a woman.
I know you keep saying that, but
yes,
I haven't lost any rights.
You've lost the right to single-sex spaces that are for the female sex only, right? There are women in prisons that are getting raped by men identifying as women. Women have lost over 1,000 trophies to men who are identifying as women and going into the women's category within sports. We are having young girls having to undress and seeing grown men undress in front of them. There is a 50-year-old man in Canada who identifies as a girl, a 13-year-old girl, and is allowed to reveal his male genitalia in front of 13-year-old girls and compete with them in swimming. So a certain combination of words, this is why language is very important, and we must uphold our definition, because without a definition, we cannot if it's not defined, then we cannot protect it. So, for example, homosexuality, those rights that were put in law was for homosexuals, which is same-sex attractive. Can a straight person be gay? No, right? So in order for everybody to be treated equally, people must be treated differently. So we all have an equal footing within society. But we are not achieving that by saying that the word woman can now belong to males, because that doesn't give us an equal footing, right? So you can't take associative traits and use that as a definitive factor. It's like me saying, I have a walking stick and a guide dog. That is the social construct that surrounds blind people. Am I now able to go out and tell you I am blind? Or would you take that as an insult?
I think, and not to interrupt your time, this just reminds me of a woman who really wanted to be blind. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I always thought that was interesting. Yeah, Bleach, I think. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
So
I just remember
it's a biological category, right? Like no other biological category can be identified into. Age is a biological category. Race, biological category. Woman is a biological category. So, but for some reason, this is the only acceptance that we are making. We are allowing males to identify into the biological category of female. And there is no benefit to this. The only sex that will benefit from this is the male sex. So we have what we call the Yoga Carter principles that are being sent into the UN by trans rights activists. And it is to remove sex as a category from law. If sex gets removed as a category from law, it won't exist. So the words male and female, man, woman, boy, girl, will not pertain to sex. Male, female will not pertain to sex. It will pertain to gender identity. So what happens at that point? Me as a woman, God forbid I was ever in a situation and face rape or something like that. If I go into hospital and I want a same-sex healthcare service provider to intimately examine me, I will not have the language to communicate that.
Well, so I disagree with that, just because language is still going to exist whether or not we strike it from a legal definition.
Right, and what it will pertain to will change.
I'm sorry?
What it will pertain to will change. Language exists, of course, but what it pertains to would be different. We understand male and female to be the genders, the sexes, right? Then we understand man, woman, boy, girl to be stages of development within those sexes, within the human species, right? But if we now turn around and say male and female does not pertain to the word sex because sex won't exist anymore, it will only pertain to gender identity. So whether you feel, which is a reinforcement of sexist stereotypes, because God knows we can't define what a woman is, and when we do get some type of definition, it will always go back to femininity and masculinity, which women have fought centuries and decades to get away from, to say that in order to be a woman, you don't have to wear makeup, you don't have to be prim and proper, you don't have to act ladylike, and all of these things, right? So once that is completely erased, and male and female is just gender identity, God forbid